All right, the next set of questions covers questions 9 through 12. Make sense of problems. Describe how to estimate the population of Nevada in 1995 using each of the following: the function identified in item 4B, the graph of the function, or are in the table. Okay, talking about 1995. So let's go back and look. The function identified in 4B. So how would I find 1995 if I were using this expression? Well, I know 95 is where we're 4.5 decades past 1950. So we could evaluate x equals 4.5. If I looked at the graph and tried to find it, so this graph, I would again look at about the 4.5 mark and find the y-intercept. Locate the y-coordinate of the curve at where x equals 4.5. And if I'm looking at the table, looking back at this table over here in 3, again, I would need to kind of evaluate where the 4.5 would be. All right, we would estimate the y value when x equals 4.5. Estimate the population in 1995, and which method did you use and why? I'm actually going to use the expression method. Oops, sorry, not the expression, the function. With both the graph and with the table, I'm going to have to approximate where 4.5 would be. Whereas here, if I use the function, it's just simply plugging it in. So again, I'm going to do 170377 times 1.645, raised to the 4.5 power. And that is going to be 1,600,138 people. Now notice I rounded this to the near whole number because we are talking about population and I can't have partial people. That doesn't make sense to me. All right. Estimate Nevada's population in 2010. Now, we already know that in year 2000, that was 5 decades. So if I want to find 2010, I would need to do 6 for the number of decades. So again, I'm going to use the function, but this time, instead of raising it to the 4.5 power, I'm actually going to raise it to the 6th power. And I get 3,376,031 people. Again, rounding to the nearest whole number, it doesn't make sense to have partial people. Which estimate do you think is likely to be more accurate? Your estimate of the population in 95 or your estimate in 2010? And explain. The 1995 estimate is more likely to be more accurate because the initial data is covering that year, whereas 2010 is outside the initial range. The function for the growth rate of Nevada's population estimates the growth per decade. You can use this rate to estimate the growth per year or the annual growth rate. Let n be the number of years since 1950. Write an equation that gives the number of years in x decades and solve your equation for x. Well, n represents the number of years, and remember there are 10 years for every decade. It asks us to solve this equation for x. So we would do n divided by 10 equals x. This will lead into the next set of questions. Please take a moment to finish writing up your answers for questions 9 through 12.